Behind the gilded gates of Windsor, a secret stirred one so explosive it threatened to fracture centuries of royal tradition. When Prince Edward uncovered a truth buried deep within palace archives, his world shifted irrevocably. The quietest son of the Queen was about to defy royal protocol, risking reputation, loyalty, and legacy. What he discovered about Lady Louise's inheritance would ignite whispers, shock the monarchy, and change history forever. For decades, Prince Edward had lived in the shadow of history, defined not by scandal or spectacle, but by steadfast loyalty. The youngest son of a reigning monarch, he carried his duty with quiet precision, never louder than tradition, never bolder than protocol. In a family often marked by turmoil and scrutiny, Edward remained the monarchy's calm constant, a figure of restraint and dignity, whose devotion to the crown seemed unquestionable. Yet beneath his measured composure lay an unyielding sense of honor, one that would soon be tested in ways he never imagined. Lady Louise Windsor, his daughter, moved through royal life with equal grace. Reserved and thoughtful, she was admired by those who knew her but rarely thrust into the spotlight. She represented a quieter generation of royalty, dutiful, grounded, and unassuming. To the public, she was a gentle presence. To Edward, she was something far more profound. She was his pride, his legacy, and his most cherished responsibility. In her laughter, he found solace. In her future, he placed his hopes. It was this unbreakable bond that would transform a hidden truth into a defining battle. Within the palace corridors, secrets lingered like echoes. Tradition ruled every movement, every word, every silence. Behind closed doors and beneath vaulted ceilings, generations of royal history slept in sealed ledgers and forgotten correspondence. The monarchy thrived on continuity, but continuity often demanded concealment. Whispers drifted through the ancient halls, stories of promises made and forgotten, of legacies quietly reshaped in the name of stability. It was an unspoken understanding. Some truths were never meant to surface. Then came the discovery. It began not with suspicion, but with routine, a moment of quiet inquiry that led Edward into the labyrinth of royal archives. There, among yellowed pages and embossed seals, he encountered a document that did not belong to the present. Its language was deliberate, its intent unmistakable. Bound in secrecy and marked by authority, it hinted at a legacy long concealed. The revelation did not arrive with thunder, but with a chilling clarity that settled deep within him. Something had been hidden, something meant for Louise. As he read, the weight of centuries pressed upon him. Protocol demanded silence, loyalty demanded obedience, yet fatherhood demanded something more. The truth stirred within him like a rising tide, eroding the boundaries he had honored all his life. What he held in his hands challenged not only tradition, but the very narrative of inheritance that had shaped the monarchy for generations. It suggested a promise unfulfilled, a birthright obscured, and a future altered before it had even begun. Tension lingered beneath the monarchy's polished exterior, subtle yet undeniable. Inheritance was never merely symbolic, it was power, identity, and destiny intertwined. The crown's stability depended on order, yet order often came at a cost. Edward understood this better than most. He had spent a lifetime upholding the institution, believing in its purpose and protecting its legacy. But now, confronted with a truth that threatened his daughter's rightful place in history, his loyalty stood at the edge of transformation. The document remained hidden, its implications staggering, its existence known only to him. It challenged established expectations, hinting at a royal decree that had been quietly buried. Whether born of caution or calculation, its concealment spoke of decisions made in shadow, decisions that had shaped destinies without consent. And as Edward grappled with its meaning, the weight of silence grew unbearable. As whispers turned into revelations, Prince Edward realized the truth he had uncovered could not remain hidden, setting him on a collision course with royal protocol. Behind the gilded gates of Windsor, a secret stirred, one so explosive it threatened to fracture centuries of royal tradition. When Prince Edward uncovered a truth buried deep within palace archives, his world shifted irrevocably. The quietest son of the Queen was about to defy royal protocol, risking reputation, loyalty, and legacy. What he discovered about Lady Louise's inheritance would ignite whispers, shock the monarchy, and change history forever. For decades, Prince Edward had lived in the shadow of history, defined not by scandal or spectacle, but by steadfast loyalty. The youngest son of a reigning monarch, he carried his duty with quiet precision, never louder than tradition, never bolder than protocol. In a family often marked by turmoil and scrutiny, Edward remained the monarchy's calm constant, a figure of restraint and dignity whose devotion to the crown seemed unquestionable. Yet beneath his measured composure lay an unyielding sense of honor, one that would soon be tested in ways he never imagined. Lady Louise Windsor, his daughter, moved through royal life with equal grace. Reserved and thoughtful, she was admired by those who knew her but rarely thrust into the spotlight. She represented a quieter generation of royalty, dutiful, grounded, and unassuming. To the public, she was a gentle presence. To Edward, she was something far more profound. She was his pride, his legacy, and his most cherished responsibility. In her laughter, he found solace. In her future, he placed his hopes. It was this unbreakable bond that would transform a hidden truth into a defining battle. Within the palace corridors, secrets lingered like echoes. Tradition ruled every movement, every word, every silence. Behind closed doors and beneath vaulted ceilings, generations of royal history slept in sealed ledgers and forgotten correspondence. The monarchy thrived on continuity, but continuity often demanded concealment. Whispers drifted through the ancient halls, stories of promises made and forgotten, of legacies quietly reshaped in the name of stability. It was an unspoken understanding. Some truths were never meant to surface. Then came the discovery. It began not with suspicion, but with routine, a moment of quiet inquiry that led Edward into the labyrinth of royal archives. There, among yellowed pages and embossed seals, he encountered a document that did not belong to the present. Its language was deliberate, its intent unmistakable. Bound in secrecy and marked by authority, it hinted at a legacy long concealed. The revelation did not arrive with thunder, but with a chilling clarity that settled deep within him. Something had been hidden, something meant for Louise. As he read, the weight of centuries pressed upon him. Protocol demanded silence. Loyalty demanded obedience. Yet fatherhood demanded something more. The truth stirred within him like a rising tide, eroding the boundaries he had honored all his life. What he held in his hands challenged not only tradition, but the very narrative of inheritance that had shaped the monarchy for generations. It suggested a promise unfulfilled, a birthright obscured, and a future altered before it had even begun. Tension lingered beneath the monarchy's polished exterior, subtle yet undeniable. Inheritance was never merely symbolic, it was power, identity, and destiny intertwined. The crown's stability depended on order, yet order often came at a cost. Edward understood this better than most. He had spent a lifetime upholding the institution, believing in its purpose and protecting its legacy. But now, confronted with a truth that threatened his daughter's rightful place in history, his loyalty stood at the edge of transformation. The document remained hidden, its implications staggering, its existence known only to him. It challenged established expectations, hinting at a royal decree that had been quietly buried. Whether born of caution or calculation, its concealment spoke of decisions made in shadow, decisions that had shaped destinies without consent. And as Edward grappled with its meaning, the weight of silence grew unbearable. As whispers turned into revelations, Prince Edward realized the truth he had uncovered could not remain hidden, setting him on a collision course with royal protocol. In a monarchy defined by silence, one man dared to speak. Prince Edward, long regarded as the quiet pillar of loyalty, stood at the brink of rebellion. The secret surrounding Lady Louise's inheritance could no longer remain buried. As he prepared to challenge the unspoken rules of royalty, the palace braced for shockwaves that would reverberate across Britain and beyond. The burden of truth weighed heavily upon him, pressing against a lifetime of obedience and restraint. For decades, Edward had lived within the carefully drawn lines of royal duty, honoring tradition with unwavering precision. Silence had been his shield, discretion his strength. Yet now, the very loyalty that defined him stood in direct conflict with his conscience. The document he had uncovered refused to fade into obscurity. It lingered in his thoughts, a silent accusation, forcing him to confront a question he could no longer ignore. Was loyalty to the crown greater than justice for his daughter? Within the private chambers of the royal household, Conversations grew hushed and uneasy. Words were chosen with caution. Glances exchanged with measured restraint. Advisors spoke in careful tones, urging patience, urging discretion, urging silence. They reminded him of history, of precedent, of the fragile balance that sustained the monarchy. The institution, they insisted, must always come before the individual. Yet beneath their composed reasoning lay unmistakable tension and unspoken fear that the truth, once revealed, would fracture the delicate fate of unity that defined the crown. Lady Louise remained blissfully unaware of the storm gathering in her name. To the world, she was a quiet presence, admired for her humility and grace. To Edward, she was everything: his pride, his purpose, his most sacred responsibility. The thought that her rightful legacy had been concealed ignited a quiet fury within him. He watched her move through life with dignity, untouched by the shadows of royal intrigue, and the injustice cut deeper than any public scandal ever could. Protecting her future was no longer a matter of tradition. It was a matter of truth. Resistance began to surface from within the palace walls. Senior courtiers, guardians of royal continuity, urged caution with veiled insistence. They warned of consequences, of reputations at risk, of a monarchy vulnerable to scrutiny. The mere suggestion of challenging established protocol was met with discomfort, even alarm. For generations, silence had preserved stability. To break it now would invite speculation, controversy, and a relentless media storm. Headlines would question not only inheritance, but the integrity of the institution itself. The fear of scandal loomed large, casting a long shadow over every deliberation. Edward understood the stakes. He knew the power of public perception, the unforgiving nature of scrutiny, the fragile trust upon which the monarchy rested. One revelation could unravel decades of carefully cultivated dignity. Yet the alternative, continued silence, felt like complicity. The crown demanded loyalty, but fatherhood demanded courage. Caught between duty and devotion, Edward found himself standing at the threshold of transformation. Pressure mounted with quiet persistence. Advisors appealed to tradition. Courtiers invoked precedent. The unspoken expectation was clear: remain silent, protect the institution, preserve the illusion of harmony. But the truth refused to be contained. It stirred within Edward with growing intensity, strengthening his resolve with each passing day. The quiet prince, once defined by restraint, began to change. Beneath his composed exterior, determination took root, steady, unyielding, and impossible to suppress. He knew the cost of defiance. He knew the weight of history and the consequences of breaking ranks. Yet he also knew that silence would betray the very principles he had spent his life upholding. In that realization, his path became inevitable. The time for hesitation was ending. The truth demanded a voice, and he alone could give it one. As resistance mounted behind palace doors, Edward prepared to take an unprecedented step, one that would shatter royal convention. In a single moment, centuries of royal tradition trembled. Prince Edward's decision to break protocol stunned insiders and sent shockwaves through the monarchy. The quiet prince had crossed an invisible line, igniting controversy and speculation across the globe. As rumors spread and headlines erupted, one question dominated the narrative: what secret about Lady Louise's inheritance was powerful enough to force a royal rebellion? The act itself was unprecedented, measured, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. For a man defined by restraint, the decision to confront the institution he had faithfully served marked a seismic shift. Edward did not act impulsively. He acted with resolve. Whether through a formal legal inquiry or a direct appeal to the highest authority within the crown, he brought the concealed document into the light. The silence that had once protected the monarchy fractured in an instant, replaced by a tremor of disbelief that rippled through palace corridors and beyond. Within Buckingham Palace, the reaction was immediate and electric. Advisors exchanged urgent consultations, their composure strained by the gravity of Edward's defiance. Courtiers, guardians of tradition, whispered in cautious tones, their words laced with concern and disbelief. The quiet prince had done the unthinkable. He had challenged protocol. Not in anger, but in conviction. The revelation struck at the heart of royal continuity, forcing those entrusted with preserving the crown to confront a truth long buried. Tradition demanded preservation, Justice demanded recognition. Between them lay a conflict as old as the monarchy itself. The tension between duty and conscience unfolded with breathtaking intensity. For generations, the institution had relied upon silence to maintain stability. Yet Edward's actions shattered that fragile equilibrium. His defiance was not an act of rebellion for its own sake, but a declaration of principle, a father's refusal to allow history to obscure his daughter's rightful legacy. In breaking protocol, he had not merely challenged procedure, he had challenged the very notion that tradition must prevail at any cost. At the heart of the storm stood Lady Louise, unaware that her name had become the epicenter of royal controversy. The revelation cast a shadow over her future, transforming a quiet existence into one marked by expectation and scrutiny. For Edward's family, the emotional impact was profound. Loyalty to the crown had long defined their lives, yet now that loyalty stood entwined with uncertainty and fear. Pride, apprehension, and resolve mingled in equal measure, binding them together as the world's gaze turned toward them with relentless intensity. Beyond the palace walls, the media frenzy ignited with ferocious speed. Headlines questioned centuries-old conventions. Commentators debated inheritance, legitimacy, and the hidden mechanics of royal power. Public intrigue surged, fueled by speculation and fascination, as the quiet prince's defiance captured the world's imagination. From whispered rumors to global discourse, the story transcended scandal and evolved into a narrative of courage, secrecy, and transformation. Within the royal household, divisions began to surface. Some regarded Edward's actions as a dangerous breach, a disruption of order that threatened the monarchy's stability. Others, quietly and cautiously, recognized the moral weight of his stand. Beneath the polished unity of the crown, differing loyalties emerged: tradition against truth, preservation against progress. The fracture was subtle yet undeniable, a reflection of an institution struggling to reconcile its past with an uncertain future. In breaking royal protocol, Edward's act became more than a personal decision. It became a symbol. It spoke of integrity in the face of silence, of love confronting legacy, of a monarchy compelled to confront its own secrets. The invisible line he had crossed could never be redrawn, and its consequences would echo through generations, altering the narrative of inheritance and reshaping the meaning of duty itself. As the monarchy grappled with the fallout, the truth behind Louise's inheritance began to surface, revealing secrets darker than anyone imagined. The truth was more shocking than anyone dared to imagine. Hidden for decades, the secret surrounding Lady Louise's inheritance was not merely financial, it was historical, symbolic, and profoundly personal. As details emerged, they painted a portrait of power, sacrifice, and quiet injustice. For Prince Edward, the revelation was not just about legacy. It was about identity, loyalty, and the fragile bond between duty and love. At the heart of the concealed document lay a legacy far greater than wealth or title. Louise's hidden inheritance was bound to a royal trust of extraordinary significance, an ancient entitlement rooted in tradition, quietly reassigned and sealed away by decree. It was not a mere oversight, but a deliberate act that altered the course of her destiny before it had even begun. This inheritance carried the weight of history, symbolizing continuity, prestige, and an unspoken promise once bestowed upon her lineage. Its concealment reshaped not only her future, but the very narrative of succession that had defined the monarchy for generations. Whispers soon emerged of a forgotten royal promise, an oath made in an era when stability demanded silence, and decisions were etched in secrecy. The document hinted at a decree, sanctioned at the highest level, that redirected a legacy once intended for Edward's bloodline. Whether born of caution, compromise, or calculated intent, the act had been preserved behind sealed authority, untouched by time, yet capable of igniting upheaval in the present. The past, long dormant, now stirred with quiet intensity, its echoes reverberating through the corridors of power. For Edward, the revelation struck with devastating clarity. The truth was no longer an abstraction confined to parchment. It was deeply personal, intertwined with his daughter's identity and future. He felt the sting of betrayal not as a prince, but as a father. Each reflection carried the same question: how could a promise meant for Louise have been denied without her knowledge? The realization ignited both sorrow and resolve, forging within him a determination that transcended protocol. His loyalty to the crown had shaped his life, but his devotion to his daughter defined his purpose. As speculation grew, so too did the mystery surrounding the motives behind the secrecy. Some believed the decision had been made to preserve equilibrium within the royal hierarchy, safeguarding tradition from disruption. Others whispered of calculated ambition, of strategic silence designed to prevent a shift in power that could unsettle the monarchy's delicate balance. The truth remained elusive, cloaked in diplomacy and guarded by those entrusted with protecting the institution's continuity. Yet with every revelation, the illusion of certainty began to erode. Inheritance within the monarchy was never merely ceremonial. It was a symbol of identity, legitimacy, and destiny. Titles and entitlements carried a resonance far beyond their formal significance, embodying centuries of tradition and the unbroken thread of royal lineage. Louise's concealed inheritance represented more than a birthright. It embodied a legacy of recognition and belonging. Its suppression cast a shadow not only upon her future, but upon the integrity of the institution itself, challenging the very principles it claimed to uphold. Within palace walls, divisions deepened. Senior royals and advisors found themselves at odds, their loyalties strained by the revelation's implications. Some urged discretion, fearing that exposure would invite scrutiny and weaken the monarchy's foundation. Others, guided by conscience, recognized the moral gravity of the truth and the necessity of confronting it. Beneath the polished unity of the crown, an unspoken conflict unfolded: tradition against transparency, preservation against justice. The tension lingered, quiet yet unmistakable, as the monarchy stood at the threshold of transformation. For Edward and Louise, the emotional weight of the revelation continued to grow. What had once been a private burden now threatened to reshape their lives irrevocably. The future, once defined by quiet dignity, had become uncertain, suspended between heritage and controversy. With every whispered rumor and guarded conversation, anticipation mounted, and the stakes rose ever higher. As the secret spread beyond palace walls, the world began to react, turning a private royal struggle into a global spectacle. What began as a private discovery now threatened the reputation of an entire institution. With the secret exposed, the British monarchy found itself under unprecedented scrutiny. Headlines questioned tradition, loyalty, and transparency, while the public demanded answers. As the world watched, Prince Edward's defiance transformed from a personal act of courage into a catalyst for change, one that could redefine the monarchy's future. The story spread with astonishing speed, crossing borders and igniting debate across continents. Newspapers, broadcasters, and digital platforms seized upon the revelation, dissecting every detail with relentless intensity. Commentators questioned the integrity of long-standing traditions, while analysts examined the implications of a concealed inheritance that had altered the course of a royal legacy. What began as a whispered secret within palace walls had erupted into a global narrative, captivating audiences and reshaping perceptions of the crown. Public reactions surged with equal force. Many saw in Prince Edward's defiance a rare act of courage and embodiment of integrity in a world governed by silence. Sympathy for Lady Louise grew as her story unfolded, transforming her from a quiet royal figure into a symbol of injustice and resilience. Voices from across Britain and beyond called for transparency, urging the monarchy to confront its past and embrace a future defined by accountability. In their eyes, Edward was not a rebel, but a protector, a father who dared to challenge centuries of protocol in defense of his daughter's rightful legacy. As debate intensified, the revelation ignited a broader conversation about modernization within the monarchy. Critics questioned whether an institution rooted in tradition could remain relevant in an era that demanded openness and reform. Supporters, however, warned that dismantling protocol risked destabilizing the very foundation that had preserved the crown for generations. The monarchy now stood at a crossroads, caught between the weight of its history and the expectations of a rapidly evolving world. Within the royal household, generational divides became increasingly evident. Younger voices, attuned to the changing tides of public opinion, quietly advocated for transparency and adaptation. They recognized the growing demand for authenticity and understood that silence, once a shield, could now be perceived as complicity. Meanwhile, senior figures remained steadfast in their commitment to tradition, viewing Edward's actions as a dangerous precedent that threatened the delicate equilibrium of royal authority. Beneath the fade of unity, tension simmered, reflecting an institution grappling with its own identity. Behind closed doors, efforts to contain the scandal unfolded with urgency and precision. Advisors worked tirelessly to preserve the monarchy's dignity, crafting statements, consulting legal experts, and seeking a path that would reconcile tradition with truth. Every decision carried immense political and symbolic weight, for the revelation had transcended personal conflict and evolved into a matter of national significance. The crown was no longer merely defending protocol, it was defending its legitimacy in the eyes of a watchful world. The political implications were profound. Questions arose within government circles and constitutional discourse, probing the relationship between monarchy and modern governance. The hidden inheritance, once an internal matter, now resonated as a symbol of transparency and accountability, challenging the perception of an institution built upon continuity and trust. The monarchy's response would determine not only its reputation, but its relevance in an age defined by scrutiny and change. As public fascination grew, so did the pressure upon the royal family to respond with clarity and conviction. The stakes were immense, the consequences far-reaching. Every word, every silence, every gesture carried the power to shape the narrative and redefine the institution's legacy. In the midst of this global spectacle, Edward's defiance remained a powerful testament to principle, while Louisa's inheritance became the focal point of a debate that transcended tradition itself. Amid growing scrutiny and rising public interest, the royal family faced a pivotal decision that would shape their legacy for generations. At the heart of the controversy lay not a crown, but a bond between father and daughter. As the world debated tradition and power, Prince Edward's actions revealed a deeply personal truth. His fight was not for prestige, but for Louisa's future. In the quiet moments away from cameras, their relationship became the emotional center of a royal storm, one defined by love, loyalty, and the burden of legacy. For Prince Edward, the unfolding scandal was never about ambition or recognition. It was about protection. From the moment he first held Louise in his arms, she had represented hope untainted by the weight of expectation. Unlike many within the royal household, she grew in an environment shaped by humility and quiet strength, shielded from the relentless glare of public scrutiny. Their connection was not forged through ceremony or status, but through trust steady, unwavering, and deeply human. In her presence, Edward was not merely a prince, he was a father, guided by devotion rather than duty. As whispers transformed into headlines, Louisa's awareness began to grow. What had once been distant murmurs now found their way into her world, carried by hushed conversations and careful explanations. The revelation of her concealed inheritance arrived not as a triumph, but as a burden, a truth that altered her understanding of identity and belonging. She listened with composed grace, yet beneath her calm exterior lay a quiet storm of emotion. Questions lingered. Why had this legacy been hidden? And what did it mean for the future she thought she knew? Edward watched her absorb the truth with a mixture of pride and sorrow. He saw in her resilience the very qualities that defined the monarchy's enduring strength, yet he also recognized the cost of revelation. His protective instincts sharpened, fueled by an unshakable moral conviction. This was not merely a matter of protocol, it was a matter of justice. He had challenged centuries of silence not for personal gain, but to ensure that his daughter's legacy would never be shaped by secrecy again. In that quiet resolve, he found both courage and consequence. Beyond the palace walls, the world continued its relentless gaze, dissecting every development with fascination and speculation. Public discourse surged with theories and opinions, transforming a private struggle into a spectacle of global intrigue. Yet behind the headlines and the scrutiny lay a stark contrast, vulnerability hidden beneath regal composure. In private moments, father and daughter confronted uncertainty together, their shared strength becoming a refuge against the storm. Where the public saw controversy, they experienced a journey of truth, trust, and transformation. Themes of duty, identity, and inheritance wove themselves into the fabric of their lives. For Louise, The revelation was both a burden and a calling, a reminder that legacy was not merely bestowed, but carried with dignity and purpose. She began to understand that her place within the monarchy, once quiet and unassuming, now held new significance. The hidden inheritance had not only reshaped her future, but had illuminated her role within an evolving institution, one increasingly defined by transparency and authenticity. As her awareness deepened, so too did her resolve. Louise emerged not as a figure of controversy, but as a symbol of quiet strength and integrity, embodying a new generation of royalty prepared to navigate tradition with honesty and grace. Edward, witnessing her transformation, felt both pride and solemn responsibility. His defiance had altered the course of their lives, yet it had also forged a legacy rooted not in privilege, but in principle. Together they stood at the center of a defining moment in royal history, united by love, bound by truth, and strengthened by the courage to confront the past. The world watched, captivated by their story, as anticipation grew and the monarchy faced the consequences of long-buried decisions. In their unity lay both vulnerability and power, a testament to the enduring strength of family, in the face of tradition's unyielding weight. As father and daughter stood united, the monarchy prepared for its most defining reckoning, one that would determine whether tradition would prevail or evolve. In the shadow of history, the crown faced a moment of truth. Prince Edward's defiance had ignited a confrontation between tradition and transformation, forcing the monarchy to confront secrets long buried. As the world awaited the outcome, the fate of Lady Louise's inheritance and the future of royal protocol itself hung in the balance. This was more than a scandal. It was a reckoning that would redefine legacy, loyalty, and the meaning of royalty. The monarchy's response unfolded with solemn gravity, measured yet unmistakable in its significance. Behind closed doors, deliberations stretched into silence, shaped by centuries of precedent and the weight of an uncertain future. The institution that had weathered wars, abdications, and upheavals now stood at a crossroads, compelled to acknowledge a truth it could no longer conceal. In a rare and carefully worded recognition, the crown moved to address the revelation, honoring tradition while confronting the consequences of its own secrecy. It was not an admission of fault, but a gesture of reconciliation, a decision crafted to preserve dignity without denying reality. The resolution carried profound symbolism. Lady Louise's hidden inheritance, once obscured by silence, was acknowledged with quiet authority, restoring a legacy long withheld. The recognition did not disrupt the order of succession, nor did it shatter the monarchy's foundations. Instead, it affirmed a delicate balance and evolution rather than a rupture, a step toward transparency that honored both history and integrity. In that moment, the crown demonstrated a willingness to adapt, revealing that even the most enduring institutions could respond to the call for justice without surrendering their identity. For Louise, the impact was both transformative and deeply personal. No longer a peripheral figure within the royal narrative, she emerged as a symbol of dignity and quiet strength, her story resonating far beyond palace walls. Public perception shifted, embracing her not merely as a royal descendant, but as the embodiment of a legacy reclaimed. Admiration replaced speculation, and her presence came to represent a new chapter, one defined by authenticity, resilience, and the promise of a more transparent future. The inheritance that once cast a shadow over her life now illuminated her path forward, shaping her role within an evolving monarchy. Prince Edward's defiance, once viewed as a breach of protocol, was recast as an act of principle that reshaped royal tradition. His courage did not dismantle the institution he served, it refined it. By challenging silence, he had compelled the crown to confront its past and embrace a future guided by accountability. His actions resonated as a testament to moral conviction, a reminder that loyalty to tradition need not come at the expense of truth. In defending his daughter's legacy, Edward transformed the meaning of duty itself, redefining what it meant to serve both family and crown. The revelation's broader symbolism echoed across generations. Inheritance, long regarded as a matter of hierarchy and privilege, emerged as a reflection of identity, justice, and belonging. The controversy illuminated the delicate interplay between continuity and change, reminding the world that legacy is not merely inherited, but safeguarded through courage and integrity. Through Edward's stand, the monarchy confronted a timeless paradox. To endure, it must evolve. To preserve its legacy, it must embrace truth. As modern scrutiny intensified, the Crown responded not with resistance but with quiet adaptation. The institution, once shielded by silence, demonstrated its capacity for transformation, an acknowledgement that tradition could coexist with transparency. In doing so, it reaffirmed its relevance in a rapidly changing world, proving that dignity need not be compromised by honesty, and that history, when confronted with courage, can become a foundation for renewal rather than a barrier to progress. In the end, the reckoning was neither triumphant nor tragic, but profoundly human. It spoke of loyalty tested by conscience, of secrecy undone by love, and of a father's unwavering devotion to his child. Prince Edward's defiance did not fracture the monarchy. It illuminated it, casting light upon the enduring values that define its purpose. And within that illumination, the legacy of Lady Louise stood restored, no longer hidden, but honored. And as the palace gates close once more, the echoes of Edward's defiance linger, reminding the world that even within the most ancient institutions, change begins with a single act of courage.